Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me today. When I make these videos, I do not intend to focus on the certain kind of strata of the population that is educated or is knowledgeable about the issues, and they know how things kind of work on this world. I'm also targeting people who are new, people who are just trying to figure out hey, what's going on here? I mean, it's freedom, democracy, and all that. And by picking up subjects that for some of us might seem, we already know these kind of things. You don't have to point it out to us. Yes, I know I don't have to point it out to you. You can use it as an argument with others in your everyday life when you're going to say, yeah, but how about that? Oh, remember that? Yeah, how about that? How about... That's kind of like an ammunition for you. Now, for people who are new, that means they just, oh, let's see what's going on here. Oh, I'm just trying to uncover or show patterns of the free mass media, the corporate, all this BS that we're taught that we live in the West. That's my goal for that kind of, strata of the population that I'm targeting as well. And also is my passion to do this. I want to do this because I like it and I think it's the right thing to do. Now, with that being said, let's move on to this article that might seem for some of us not redundant, I would say, but it provides information, but it's just going to show the hypocrisy and how much those guys lie. And you might say, well, we already know that. For the ones that you already know that, just take the example. For the ones that you don't know, just listen to what I have to say about what they say this time and what they said in the past. And you find out that these guys are changing like this, like the weather, This article comes from Ukrinform. Ukrinform, if you remember, it's a state-owned, it's the Ukrainian main media outlet together with Ukrainska Pravda and the New Voice of Ukraine. So that is state-owned. All right, you might ask, hey, why do you use that? Because that's the best way to expose hypocrisy and lies, going straight to the source. And you get information from their angle. I pick Sputnik, which is the other guy's angle, or Russia Today, the other guys, and then obviously the Americans and others that I use. Now, Kremlin planning to create 20 new divisions, expand army to 1.5 million troops. This is what the General Staff of Ukraine says. Now, for people that don't know almost anything about it, say, wow, really? Yeah. Okay, well, just to let you know, on the 15th, the Russians supposedly are going to start a semi-general mobilization. That's per the same news outlets that tell us now that the Russians will increase to 1.5 million people. Why? They said the Russians will close their borders to the military age people, so they can't go there. The Russians will institute martial law, and the Russians will recruit, I don't know how many was 10 million or something, or general mobilization or something like that. And I'm waiting. We're still on the 12th. They still have 3 days to say the same lie. And after the 15th, I will come back here and I will tell you, my friends, hey, see, they lied again. All right? And if you don't believe me, you can check my videos where I made a video on exactly that claim brought by the Ukrainians. So you can compare that with a date, article name, source, and the content, what they said. All right, so it's not me pulling things up on my ass. The Kremlin is planning to create 20 new divisions and expand the Russian armed forces to 1.5 million troops in order to continue its aggression against Ukraine. Okay, are you scared, buddy? Well, if you would do the same thing if you could, but you can't. That's the problem, and you're a little bit upset about it, I guess. And what, you want a continuous war? Like the one from 1984, George Orwell's novel? Continuous war, perpetual? Some do, because they make a lot of profit out of that. Brigadier General Oleksiy Hromov, Deputy Chief of the Main Operational Department of General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, said at the briefing, and I'm quoting this person, to implement their invasion plans, the Russian command has announced large-scale measures to reform the armed forces, in particular increasing their total number to 1.5 million people and forming at least 20 new divisions. These plans testify to the Kremlin's plans to engage in a long-term confrontation and preparation for long-scale hostilities, Hromov said. Yeah, okay, so? I mean, wouldn't you? Remember, it's always at least two sides to the story, at least two views, two angles that are involved in a scuffle, left and right, right? Now you see left sees it from its angle, the right sees it from its angle. They are over there in a scuffle because they disagreed on something, maybe on the angle of looking at things. In this case, the Russians' angle is that they are under the threat of an annihilation from NATO. You can say, well, that's preposterous. Well, could be, but that's how it sounds for the Russians when the other side says this was an unprovoked invasion. And the same Russians, preposterous. Well, why don't you sit down and talk about it and bring your evidence, you bring your concerns, we bring both and we discuss. Well, that has been tried by the evil Russians until December 2022, when they sent proposals to the US State Department numerous times. And Blinken and Biden and all those weasels said, we're not going to talk to you. Why is that? Why is that? So you see, it's more to the story. Now they're going to increase the army to 1.5. I'm surprised they have only 1.5, to be honest with you. Russia, the evil Russia, who has imperialistic tendencies. Oh, they should have about 20 million standing army right there. Remember, in Switzerland, that's the way it goes. Every adult, military age and able, capable, and you know what I mean? They are going each and every year. They have military retraining sessions, depending on how old you are, between I think it's 3 weeks and 2 weeks or something like that, and they have their automatic weapon under their bed with ammunition. It's like we would have, let's say, been in the army here, mandatory you have to be in the army for about, 8 months or so, and after that you go home with your automatic war-like automatic weapons, not with AR-15 bullshit or with VARS, whatever, AK-47. Those are not military grade weapons. Got that? So when these guys are talking in the Senate, military weapons, those are not. Those are just kind of like slash toys. Oh no, don't insult my AR-15. Okay, all right. Well, why don't you just, click a few things if you don't have to go deeper than that. Anyway, the AR-15 are not military grade weapons. They are not the ones that are equipped, and you would equip an army. You would equip a certain army, if you know what I mean, which is going to be a lower standard with the capability. But anyway, don't get into that. I am not here to insult anybody, okay? I'm just giving you what I know. Some things I might know them wrong. Some I might know them right. I think I'm right because I read about these things. You might have read about them too. Anyway, let's move on. So we have here 1.5 million people, right? Okay, and we have what? 20 new divisions. As I said, I expect these guys to have at least like the Swiss have under their beds that military grade ammunition and weapons. And Switzerland, the peace-loving neutral country, all right? And these guys are the evil Russians. However, he noted that the Russian leadership would need considerable time, financial and economic resources to implement such plans. Do you think that these guys just show up and say, we're going to do this? Or they plan before and say, okay, do we have the resources? Do we have this? How are we going to implement it? Blah, blah, blah. And then they come and say, hey, we're going to do this. And everything is already ready to go. I mean, remember, when you want to build a house or you want to buy a house, well, let's put you want to build a house. How do you do it? You're just going to start building it. Okay, I'm putting here a stick. I'm going to start. No, you plan ahead. You conspire, right? How do you do that? You put on paper, you read, get information, bring all your materials that you start. You make the right contacts, and you make a chronology, step by step. You're not going to start with the roof. You're going to start with the basement. You're going to start with the land, with the topography. Taking care of the plot of land that you got, and so on. Okay, so I have to say all this basic stuff because otherwise you have a lot of people who might not know these things. And really, you find an 18, 19, and I'm not trying to insult those ones now, but I've been 18, 19, I didn't know everything like I do now, you know what I mean? But some things are just easier to understand if someone else puts them in a certain context. Anyway, as reported by Ukrinform, the head of the main intelligence directorate of Ukraine Defense Minister Kirilo Budanov said that due to heavy losses at the front, the Russian leadership decided to launch a new wave of mobilization from January 5. We're in January 12 already, and nothing happened. That was the January 5. Nothing happened January 5. Then they said January 15. We're still waiting, and because they realized they said in January. So now we have January 5 gone. January 15 gonna come in 3 days, and I don't expect anything. And because they don't expect anything, they did it more vaguely in January. By the end of January, they would hope that the weasels with below 86 IQ, they will forget what the Ukrainians said about January. And they're gonna move into February. And they're gonna say this spring. I think they already said it. So you know what I mean? I'll see you in the next few days. Instead of saying I see you, I don't know, Friday at 5 p.m. You know what the difference? Or you're going to commit a crime by tomorrow at 5 p.m., tomorrow being Friday. Or saying, I think you're going to commit a crime sometime in the next years. Now, which one is which? I mean, I have so many years to wait for you to maybe or maybe not. And guess what? What I say right now, a few years could be 7 years. In 7 years, I guarantee you that you probably forgotten about it. All right? And if you come back, I say, well, you know what? He actually did it. Or I'm going to say, well, I said a few years. Or I will say, well, things changed. And if things change, the circumstances change, so does my assessment. So then, it's not going to be a few years. From now on, it's going to be a few years. And I just push it further until I die. Or you die, or we both die, or you forget about it. I mean, this is a pattern. Just look at it. And you find this at work, you find it in family, you find it with friends. Those are not your friends, because that's the way we are. We are not courageous. We're cowards. And we are cowards, we lie. Because we can't accept responsibility for our mistakes. And we are afraid we're going to be if we lie. Sometimes in certain society, the consequences are very crude. As at work, if you make a mistake, you can be fired and so on. That's why you're going to lie. That's the basic idea of lying or making up stories, trying to, I'm not here or hiding the truth. Afraid of the consequences. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.